freedom and liberty scares them to death. And that's why they're staunchly against it. And they're using the mechanisms of this government to steal those rights from us. And sadly, we conservatives increasingly have no political party that represents our interests. You know, a lot of people say, well, you're a Republican. No, I haven't been a Republican in 7 years. 8 years now. Because if you are a devotee to the Constitution, you recognize why it's there, what it's there to do, to put chains on government. If you are that person, if you believe in a limited constitutional government, you have no political party in this country.
1, 2, 3, go.
Jennifer Hardy Har.
Believe it or not,
Welcome to the Lawyer Dana Show.
the Lawyer Dana podcast.
Wow, we have a lot to talk about.
And we're going to do it right after this.
Welcome to the Lawyer Dana Podcast.
You would hope that the Constitution of the United States would have been a sufficient enough roadmap, but man alive, individuals who call themselves Republicans are more inclined to surrender.
Cornyn certainly had.
Yes.
I mean, if you looked at his voting on the recent gun legislation.
Oh yeah.
And if you'd like to talk about, I am working on a world championship to next year in American skeet shooting.
Mm-hmm.
I want to try out for the 2028 Olympic skeet shooting team. I trained with a gold medal winner named Lanny Basham, who wrote probably these books here.
Mm-hmm.
He's been on the show. Great guy. Talks about mindset, winning mindset, and how do you achieve higher levels of stuff, which is a great theme of this podcast. But since you're here, let's talk. You want to talk about guns a little bit?
Sure.
An armed society is a polite society.
Amen.
You cannot eliminate guns out of the world. Otherwise, you would just be the sheep. There have to be sheepdogs. Otherwise, the wolves will eat the sheep. And the sheep should not vote to disarm the sheepdog or to chain the sheepdog, because if the sheepdog is unable to protect the sheep, then the wolves are going to eat the sheep. It's very, very straightforward. Mm-hmm. When concealed carry was legalized in Texas, crime tremendously dropped.
Sure did.
And when seconds count, if you're in an emergency and you need a man with a gun to protect you, or a woman someone with a gun, because actually women are actually usually better shots than men. In fact, in shooting in the Olympics around 1976, they split, because women used to shoot with the men, and they split it to women's and men's. But shooting is the one sport, or one of the few sports, if there's only more than one, where women actually can compete directly with a man without any competitive disadvantage or advantage one way or the other.
And beat him.
And they can beat him. And in fact, Lanny...
And what is the message behind that? That the gun is a great equalizer.
Yes. And when seconds count, the police are only minutes away.
Minutes away, exactly. The reason why we carry firearms is because we can't fit a police officer in our back pocket.
Exactly.
John Cornyn came on the show when he was running for election last time, and you know, we had him on, and he said all the right things, and that's what he does. He says all the right things when he's campaigning. But when he tripped all over himself to surrender my rights and your rights to accommodate his Democrat friends in the wake of Uvalde, before he knew the full story, it tells me that John Cornyn is an irresponsible leader. He is lackadaisical with other people's rights. He's got enough money. He's got men with guns to protect him. What the hell does he care about you and me?
Right.
And the fact it is...
If they want to disarm us, disarm their protection.
Right. First.
Yeah. And demonstrate that that's fine.
Amen.
Show
Show us how that works.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. John Cornyn basically showed us what an irresponsible legislator does. He acted to please CNN and knee-jerk reporting. He didn't rely on the facts, and he sacrificed our rights to do it. And that's why he will never have my support again, and that's why I think every Texan should vote him out.
The Collin County Republican Party censored him, and a lot of the the county Republican parties are censoring him.
Good, and that censure should be all over Texas. It should be universal, because John Cornyn took our rights and sacrifice them to placate his left-wing buddies and his friend Mitch McConnell. And there is no room for that in the state of Texas as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. I agree.
Did you read my mind? I was like, what do you think, Jen?
Yeah.
No, I agree. 100%.
Well,
As a woman,
Yeah.
like, I'm all about everybody having the right to carry a gun. I think that, people need to take a course. That's my viewpoint. Make sure you know how to use a gun. But at the end of the day, like, I've seen too many people stand up against people that were going to shoot everybody down. Like, there was an apartment complex not too long ago where the lady killed somebody because the guy was about to shoot everybody, like do a mass shooting.
All
and
mass
she
shootings
took him
happen
out.
in gun-free zones. Gun-free zones
Yes.
where everybody's been disarmed because you're just sheep ready for a wolf to come and just attack the innocent and indefensible.
Right.
I didn't get my first firearm until I got out here to Texas. I was born and raised in San Diego, and I grew up in a non-gun culture. I'd fired a weapon before, a .38 that my father had, but when I got to Texas, and you know what got my first gun? Got me to get my first gun? The BLM riots. That nothing inspires a man to get armed when he sees police standing down and politicians surrendering the public to thuggery. Well, if they're not going to if they're not going to protect my family, I damn well better.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And that was when I started getting. I mean, it was always in the back of my mind. You better get this done. Better get this done. And since then, I went to school. The Constitution was constructed in a meticulous way to where the articles provided a check on government power and authority. It's what Joe Biden refuses to acknowledge when he says, what are those deers wearing Kevlar vests? I mean, is Joe Biden that big of an idiot? Yes, he is. He is a moron. He is an incompetent boob, and he has been. And
You can tell that from his interrogation or questioning of Clarence Thomas during the confirmation hearings.
Sure, but I mean, his own party has been telling us he's an idiot for the last 40 years. But all of a sudden, now he's the savior because he was
a useful idiot.
Well, right, for them, because he's pliable. He gets to go play White House with Jill while Obama makes all these decisions for him.
Do you think it's actually Obama making the decisions?
Soros, Obama, the left wing, it's all a cabal. They're all reading from the same hymnal. But look, the Joe Biden has a fundamental misunderstanding, and he recognizes what the Second Amendment is and why it's there. It stands in front of tyrants like him, and he doesn't want to be deterred. And most tyrants don't want to be deterred. So that's why they work so hard to take away your rights. Your Second Amendment rights are not responsible for crime. Government is.
Right.
Soft on crime, government policies. Right back to where we started our conversation.
Oh, yeah. And they say, oh, well, there was only muskets at the time. No, not true. And I wasn't planning on having this necessarily part of the discussion, but I talked to Judge Mark Rush, who is a savant about the history of the American Revolution.
And you could own a cannon.
You could own a cannon.
Yes, you could.
And in fact, that was what was critical in turning the tide of the war, because they were, and I want to say it was who signed the big one, John Hancock.
John Hancock, yeah.
And if not him, it was another forefather who had a massive armament that was, because there was no American military at the time. It was private citizens that were going, all right, we're going to go
It was militia.
get our stuff. It was,
The militia.
And they put it all together with groups of, all right, we're gonna figure this out. And the British were going to, there was a particular bridge that they had to cross, and they defended off the British from crossing that bridge, because if they had crossed that bridge, they were going to get to the massive armament that was privately owned and used in the American Revolution by a private citizen.
Yeah. To defeat government.
Exactly.
And that notion, the American Revolution, scares the living daylights out of the Joe Bidens of the world. Freedom and liberty scares them to death. And that's why they're staunchly against it. And they're using the mechanisms of this government to steal those rights from us. And sadly, we conservatives increasingly have no political party that represents our interests. You know, a lot of people say, well, you're a Republican. No, I haven't been a Republican in 7 years, 8 years now, because if you are a devotee to the Constitution, you recognize why it's there, what it's there to do, to put chains on government. If you are that person, if you believe in a limited constitutional government, you have no political party in this country.
So you mentioned conservatism.
Sure.
And I found this fascinating, which is, what is it that you're trying to conserve? What does that word mean to you?
You're not necessarily, conservatism isn't conservation. Conservatism is when you do something that's in a conservative measure, it's limited measure. And it goes back to the limited government that I mentioned. When you're a conservative, you believe in the bare basics of government. Government is a necessary evil. And our founding fathers recognized that. We need a centralized government, yes, to a degree, but it has to have severe limits placed upon it. Why? Because when there are chains on government, the people are free.
Mm-hmm.
When there are chains on the people, what you were
When the
describing
government is free,
earlier.
there's chains on people.
Yeah, exactly. When the government fears the people, you have liberty. When the people fear the government, you have tyranny. It's exactly what you said. Mm-hmm. So when you're a conservative, you believe in a limited. Conservatism is in its essence human freedom and liberty, given by God. It's about as basic about everything that notified the American Constitution and the conservative worldview that there is. That man's natural state of being is freedom.
Exactly.
And legitimate governments, only legitimate governments, preserve that. That's why Joe Biden increasingly is running an illegitimate government, because he's not preserving those basic fundamental God-given rights. He is undermining them. He's usurping them almost on a daily basis.
So what suggestions do you have? Where do we go from here? How do we preserve American freedom and have a healthy country and into years into the future?
An educated population does not elect, I should say. An educated population does not elect a man like Joe Biden.
Right.
An educated population does not look at socialism and stroke its chin thoughtfully and say, oh, wow, maybe there's something to that. An educated population doesn't look at communism and go, well, that's the best way to get equality, is communism. GovEd, the worst mistake this country made was turning over our children to government for education. You want to turn the country around? You put the power back in the hands of the parents. 21 states have parental school choice right now. They're civilized and they have school choice. Texas is among the knuckle draggers. And
how's it working out for the states that have it?
Fine. Do you see massive rebellions going on in the 21 states that have it? As a matter of fact, you see test scores increasing. You see GovEd has to finally compete. And guess what? There's no more room for this critical race theory, the teaching of racism, the LGBTQ, ABCDEFG, Marxist agenda.
I was shocked when I heard about critical race theory, because I remember it was offered in law school. I graduated in 2003, and Professor Hutcherson taught critical race theory, and I was a little bit suspect of it, but I was like, okay, maybe. And I liked Professor Hutcherson. I had him for constitutional law. I thought he was fine. And but when I really heard what it is, I was going, that sounds like one of the most racist things that I've ever seen.
It is. It teaches black and brown children to hate white people.
Yeah.
And it teaches white people to hate the color of their skin. Parents were starting to get their white children coming home and saying, Mommy and Daddy, I wish I were a different color. I mean, none of us would tolerate that from a black child or a brown child, a Latino child. None of us would say that was acceptable. Why is it okay for this racism to be heaped onto the white population? If you believe in Dr. Martin Luther King that we should judge by the content of character, not the color of skin, then critical race theory is a direct affront to that. Absolutely. And I want you guys to know a name and look her up. Her name is Chloe Cole.
Chloe Cole.
Chloe Cole is a brave 15-year-old little girl. Well, she was 15 when this was done to her. She's 18 now. She was convinced by GovEd and by some physicians who, in my mind, were unethical, that she needed to go through a gender transition. And she had her healthy breasts lopped off by a physician, which she regrets to this day. And she considers herself a victim of an agenda that is pushing our children into this weird zone where the gender identity science is being turned on its ear, and the corruption of our kids' minds, courtesy of GovEd, from again CRT, this LGBTQ, what I call ABCDEFG agenda that's being disguised as that, but it's really cultural Marxism.
It's cultural Marxism.
It's cultural Marxism. It is dangerous, and we're funding it, and we're being forced to fund it.
It's so interesting you're saying that. So I have a friend, her daughter's in 4th grade, and she called me so upset with school. And I was like, what happened? And she said, my daughter got in the car. She was really upset, crying. They literally made her watch a video on a little girl coming to her parents, coming out, saying she wants to be a boy. And she was like, they didn't have me sign anything saying I was okay with my daughter to watch this, because when we were kids, you could even watch a puberty video without your parents signing something. Mm-hmm. And so it was a YouTube video and all this other stuff. And she called the school, and the principal's like, well, let me check into it. And then the principal sends her an email. Well, it's okay with our curriculum. And like, no, it's not okay. These are kids. They're young. They don't know anything about it. Like, they don't need to know this stuff. They need to be innocent.
Indoctrination of kids is just reprehensible to me.
And you guys are talking to one of the only conservative talk show hosts who interviewed an actual transgendered child couple, parents of a actual gender dysphoria is real, but incredibly rare.
Yeah.
When you have schools in Austin, Texas, where a teacher is claiming that 60% of the class came out to her as LGBTQ, ABCDEFG in 4th grade, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Statistically, that is unheard of.
Yes.
And the reason why, and I probably should explain this, why I say LGBTQ, ABCDEFG, because you guys have noticed how it's gone from LGB to LGBTQ to LGBTQ plus AI, all this stuff, right?
Right.
Do you know why that is? It's because lesbians by themselves don't make a big enough voting block for Democrats to care.
Right.
Lesbians and gay men don't make a big enough voting block for the Democrats to care. But you start lumping all of these disparate groups together that have different struggles, different challenges, different worldviews. You put them all together as one big voting block, then all of a sudden it's enough for the left wing to care. Mm-hmm. And that's why that's grouped together like that in the mainstream press and in education. It's the most cynical piece of barbarism to exploit our kids with that.
Well, I know Bill Mayer's like extremely left, but he actually posted a video. I highly recommend watching it about all of this. And it is very conservative the way he did it. Like, we're like, whoa, he makes a good point.
It's common sense.
Yeah, he basically was saying that, at the rate we're going, in 2050, everybody will be gay.
Oh, I saw that one.
Yeah.
But he said, I saw this one too. He said, it's so extreme that a gay man wasn't invited to marshal the gay pride parade. It had to be a transgender person because that's what's in vogue, right?
Yep.
He said, I want to thank my parents for not chopping off my leg and giving me a wooden leg when I went through my pirate phase.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was his way of making fun of parents who say, oh, little Susie likes to play with G.I. Joe dolls. Oh, she must be a boy.
Yep. Let's cut her breasts off.
Exactly. And this extremism is, back to what you said, we've got to let our kids be kids.
Right.
And this sexualization, whether it be gay or straight, it doesn't belong in GovEd. It doesn't belong there.
No.
I get not ostracizing or bullying people, but it's just gone to an extreme level.
Yeah.
And it's become in vogue, and it's peer pressure and it's popularity and fitting in and it's the desire to gain attention. And if you do that, you gain a lot of attention.
Yep. And there are kids who are coming out as saying, well, I might be gay. I never thought of it before, but I might be gay or lesbian.
Well, and then
or
they go and experiment with it too. And then
and again, if anybody, all of my gay friends will tell you, you either know or you don't. You know,
Yes.
you know. There's no in between. You just know. And the
that's
idea.
a good point. Most of the gay people that I know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You
Same
know.
for me,
You
too.
know.
Yeah.
And that's common sense, and that's something I've always accepted as true. But man alive, when kids are like peer pressured to do same-sex couplings to fit in, and that's exactly what the pressure they're getting from adults in Gov Ed is doing. It's not at all. And how many of us hired Gov Ed to do this for our children? I thought that the idea was reading, writing, arithmetic, and the sciences.
Right.
Who said it was your job to take my taxpayer money and then push critical race theory or all this other stuff? Who said that was your job? I sure as hell didn't.
Right.
And I don't know any parent out there who said, oh, that's your job. So who gave them license to do this? In fact, we did, because we surrendered our rights. And it's about time the government gave those rights back.
100% agree.
Well, that is a great way to end this episode of the Lawyer Dana podcast. So, Chris, you are on it's
Newsmax.
3 to 4 Central,
Central,
but 4 to
correct.
5 Eastern, Monday through Friday, and on
Newsmax.
Newsmax.
Yes.
And you are also the director of the Conservative Hispanic Society.
Executive director there, and still on radio. I do a podcast too, the Salcedo Storm podcast. Radio is on in Houston, and we simulcast that. There's an app for that, so you can hear it all over the country. So it's
Awesome.
yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for
It's really good, so
for
watch it.
for joining us, and like, subscribe, comment. Tell us if you liked it, if you hated it. The comments help us, please. If you hated it and you want to, it'll help us go viral. So go ahead and put
Just
it on there.
remember, we
but-
all have a voice in this world.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether or not you agree with us or you disagree with us. We all have a voice. So
Have
remember
the
that.
conversation.
Have the conversation.
Yes.
And also, hard work does pay off. You can better yourself. Don't look to our government. Don't look to other people. It's all in you. The power is in with you. It's with you, in you. You can do it. If you're in the United States, you have American privilege. Make something of it. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't, because you really can. One step at a time. Next best decision. And we'll see you in the next show.
The Lawyer Dana Podcast.